Yeah. Thank you, Bad Mary, for that too sweet play-in. Welcome back, all you four-color funny book aficionados. This is US Comics Cast, HQ for all things comic book connected. We are John and Charlie Rivera, co-founder of US Comics. Charlie, happy comic book day. Nope, cannot hear you. You are muted like a big dum-dum.
Happy comic book day to all our fellow nerds out there, and welcome back. If you're joining us for the first time, please be sure to like, comment, or subscribe. If you don't, DC is going to cancel another upcoming project. John,
I'll do it. Work.
How is this beautiful comic book day treating you, my friend?
I mean, at this point, I'm just ducking, diving, dipping, and diving. Just like all of the bad fucking news from DC, I just had it. So I mean, I'm gonna say that I'm fine. I'm avoiding all the nonsense, focusing on the good.
You know what I fucking love about this time of year though? The good options are the equivalent of like when Halloween swoops in and there's no more fucking pool noodles. Instead, there's like all sorts of fucking chocolate I'm trying to avoid. But you start seeing pumpkins every goddamn where. But this year, it's not the orange of the pumpkin glistening in the aisle that has my attention. No, baby. It is golden wings of a fucking dragon. And I am ready to be hurt again. John, House of the Dragon hit the HBO machine. I gotta tell you, I felt like I was sitting on a fucking throne. I was so nervous. My little tum-tum was in a fucking knot, dude, because I was like, don't suck. Please don't suck. The main actor that we're introduced to, she comes riding in as badass as fucking possible with real Daenerys. I'm gonna fuck up all the pronunciations.
We're used to it. What's
that
up,
crazy
Anthony?
bitch. She comes in with that fucking like real badass energy. And then she smiles, and there was like something weird about her head where I'm like, oh, fuck, is this CG or is that just bad makeup? And instantly, it didn't even take me
She's Australian. That's what
that
it is.
explains it.
Yeah, you gotta.
I didn't even need
yourself.
40 minutes to get to the required blood and guts, or 42 minutes to get to the inevitable orgy scene. That fucking show, the fact that they opened with so much dragon, they were just like, "You like CG, motherfucker." I was blown away, but I gotta tell you,
I don't think that was even CG. I just think they found a very talented actor that identifies as a dragon. Actually,
fair enough.
Technically.
I gotta tell you though, you said something similar a few weeks back, but part of my joy about 15 minutes in was doing one of these. John's gonna fucking love this. I like got a Cheshire Cat smile. I'm sitting with Jameson pretending he's a fucking dragon. I put a little saddle on his back. He was furious. But I need to know, you know this material so fucking well. I was blown away. I need to know every single fucking opinion you had. How did it look? How did it feel? How did it sound? How'd that shit taste? Because I'm sure you licked your monitor.
I, too, had the stink of dragon all over me walking into that fucking council room. So what we're seeing in this new House of the Dragon series, obviously anyone who's even paying half attention knows that this is a prequel series to the aforementioned Daenerys show, aka Game of Thrones. Unlike Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, this is just one book, and even more to the point, it's about this much of the book. It is literally a fraction of the going-ons in Fire and Blood, because Fire and Blood takes like a history textbook approach to the entire history of the Targaryen clan, from the conquest basically up into and including the birth of Daenerys, always topless Targaryen, So this is just an isolated, specific, granted, very action-packed and poignant and important moment in the Targaryen history. But just the same, whether it's because I love the source material so much, so much, just as much as George R. R. Martin likes breaking his fast. Ooh, I know that's a fat man writing these books. But also coming off of the shared bad taste in our mouths over the very rushed, somewhat nonsensical finale season of Game of Thrones. So the bottom line was this: I settled in to watch a show just like everyone else who, and very, very many people who settled in to watch the show, all that information notwithstanding. Ellis being one of them, I'm sure. Ellis, I promise, bro. I know you throw a lot of comments out there for effect. If you haven't watched the show yet, you probably will.
I mean,
it was a great start for me. A great start.
Has there ever been a property that arguably fumbled the ball that instantly on the next at bat you like tore your top off and you started like you were at a football game just hooting and hollering
with enthusiasm, or like, because again, this is very premature.
Well,
this is very premature. There's going to be a little spoiler for you guys. I'm not going to touch any of the plot points for what's going to happen because they've been pretty faithful. One or two little things more of trimming than any kind of like big changes from what I've seen thus far. Couple of changes. Granted, it's not a literal one for one.
Yeah.
But this is very, very early, and just prep yourself. There's gonna be a time jump in this story alone. There's gonna be a time jump, so it's premature. But I'm still excited.
But it's still an hour of product. This is what I was thinking when I sat down to enjoy Game of Thrones, because I saw the trailer. I was pulling an Ellis. I just didn't want to commit time and energy into something that was going to betray me. Because Game of Thrones, in hindsight, I've become a lot more comfortable. I had 7 years of a great, loving relationship.
Sure.
And on that 8th year, Game of Thrones cheated on me. And went for fucking the low-hanging fruit and bored the piss out of me and frustrated me week after week. The last property to waste my time the way Game of Thrones did was Star Wars. The prequel of Star Wars was painful. Yeah. Everyone's like, they rebounded with the third one. They didn't. It's not good. When I sat down...
technically, if a downhill skier... like just fucking face plants, one ski pops off, one of the poles goes flying into the audience and like chests them. Technically, even if they stand up, it could be like, okay, all right, well,
yeah,
motherfucker got up. Like, I guess, but it would still have been better if that son of a bitch had never left the starting gate. And just real quick, Ellis, no, that's not the case. So this, if you're looking at this as just like a pure prequel. The end of this particular story that we're seeing unfold now does not begin, or end rather, with Game of Thrones. You still have almost 200 years of history. So no, you're good, Ellis. We got plenty of time to be hurt.
We got the comment sections fast and furious today.
Hell yeah, bro.
Cousin Paul, that thing-loving son of a gun over on
kid?
YouTube, wants to know, is it a necessity to have seen Game of Thrones? What I love about it, it's not. But let me just finish this thought about the Star Wars. Revenge of the Sith bored the shit out of me for 2.5 hours. I still was there opening day for Episode 7. Yeah. And Episode 7's not good. But I kind of knew it like relatively fast. What was nice about House of the Dragon was almost instantly they were like, we're sorry. We're so fucking sorry.
You know what was interesting to me was they really it felt like they walked a tightrope. They weren't. It wasn't one of those situations like you take your parents' car out without permission. And like you get a little ding in it, and you're like, you show up to breakfast the next day like nothing happened. Like that potentially would make parents even more mad than the actual situation of a dinged up car. So they didn't pretend that we weren't fucking dinged up, rear view mirror hanging off, bubblegum keeping a fucking brake light in place. No, they were like Daenerys, Daenerys, Daenerys. There were specific shots that were reminiscent of the whole Daenerys show. So they didn't shy away from their
Fuck up.
lineage, from their no, from like, well, this is all part of that same thing. But like anyone who knows you and me knows that, like, look, there's cream, and then there's like yeasty ass beer, and sometimes it's an IPA. It's almost like eating a whole sandwich in a cup. So they know it's coming from the same place, but they're not equal, far from it.
Huh.
So that being said, yeah, like George, I get very interested in hearing the creators take about certain things, especially adaptations. And George isn't a stupid man. Clearly, he's as wise of a man as he is a connoisseur of breakfast foods. And he heard us to the point where he was like, "Look, guys, the last Song of Ice and Fire books aren't done yet. It ain't gonna end that same way. I understand you hated it, and there was a bunch of stuff that was brought up that they never ever touched again. Faceless Man, I'm looking at you. But you know what? The books are going to be different. We're not going to, I'm not going to play you that way." And had the same approach here. He's like, okay, you're going to adapt something else. I got to kind of know what to expect. And he explained it best, shockingly. He said, think of a House of the Dragon as an expansion of what I wrote while still being faithful to the source material. They can, pad it like with conversations or like even scenes to get across. Because like I was saying before, Fire and Blood is not written in the narrative format that the books that became Game of Thrones series. It's like a fucking it's like you're sitting in front of the it's like you're with fucking Samuel and you're sitting there and the Grand Maester is like going on and you just gotta sit there. You just want to get to your meat and your fucking hunk of meat. But yeah, but I love that shit. I love history class.
You are
so
that audience.
And I was like, oh, tell me more, Grand Maester. I want to add a new nerdy link to my chain.
So just for legal purposes, Ellis brings up a good point. We do have to disclose HBO Max is paying us tens of dollars to give such a glowing review to episode
Max
1.
Is not even covering the fucking subscription fee for this month. It's a good thing we have a password sharing program here at the House of Rivera's.
The House of Rivera is way different show. A few less dragons, way more nudity. I'm curious about your take on this. Do you think, because the material they're working off of, is by comparison to the whole of what they're working with Game of Thrones, do you think that makes for better? In this case, is it going to make for a safer adaptation? Because we're on the heels of Sandman, who, if there is a criticism to lobby against Sandman, is you almost have to start where they started. And in my opinion, the Sandman stories that follow that run of books are far superior. But with Sandman, you have to start there. I would argue, I don't know that House of the Dragon would exist in a Game of Thrones-less world. Maybe it would, but it doesn't. The reality we're in. Is it easier to take a little bit and expand it than it is to take a shit ton and suck it all in?
Well,
Think thin.
It's a good question. So your streak
Thank
is
you.
alive.
Fuck
from last
yeah,
week.
baby!
It's a good question. So the slightly condensed, if not short, answer is what I said to Paul was correct. You do not have to be like a dedicated Game of Thrones viewer in order to really thoroughly enjoy House of the Dragon. You didn't need to be a tremendous reader of the Song of Ice and Fire books so that you can sit on the couch and like fucking dragon-splain everything that's happening and is going to happen to all the poor bastards sitting around you. That's not a necessity. However, Game of Thrones, properly Game of Thrones, the show, exists in that very unique space of having become a cultural phenomenon. HBO's very good at this. They've done it several times at this point. Sopranos is another example. Walking Dead, obviously, over on AMC is yet another. Sometimes sometimes this material it overflows its boundaries. And while Paul may have never seen an episode of the Game of Thrones series, he's still going to be very, very familiar with a lot of the concepts, a lot of the characteristics of certain characters, just by sheerly walking the fucking streets, right? So I would say that this exists in that place, but also you had mentioned prior, with the comparison to Star Wars, and I think anyone who's even paying attention for a minute or two, in the same way that Episode 4 had to be released before 1, 2, and 3, for more than just narrative purposes, it kind of like prepared you for what was coming. Whether you agreed with the plot points, whether you thought certain things were silly, whether you thought certain things were like just outright racist, whether you hate clones and like you think certain movies were necessary, all that shit notwithstanding, you were better off having been familiar with 4, 5, and 6 of Star Wars by the time 1, 2, and 3 were ready, and then 7, 8, and 9. So it's both. It's like the hard and crunchy taco, and the little Hispanic child's like, why not both? I'm saying the same shit. Why not both?
So now, regarding the easiest criticism, Ellis brings up a valid point. Game of Thrones, unlike Breaking Bad, to some extent, unlike even Walking Dead, the general consensus of Game of Thrones was that it ended with a bit of flatulence. That's the easiest go-to solution is good or bad. We don't really live in that world, but for the most part, people say it's bad. So it did a little bit retract in a big bad way. You saw way less products. You saw the logo less, far more than any of its predecessors. I see in random stores, I'll still see Soprano mugs where like the handle is a gun handle and then it's a cup for your coffee. Right. The Game of Thrones stuff just wound up being kind of clearanced and forgotten about. When I sat down for House of the Dragon, what I felt was almost in a weird way like a refreshing return to Game of Thronesiness, because it doesn't look dissimilar. So I think it accidentally winds up being a benefit to House of Dragon that the Game of Thrones is less in the forefront of the world right now, because it does a little bit get to be kind of its own thing with the bonus of having that lineage. I disagree hard?
Yeah, I don't think that it curled up and fucking like crawled into a corner. I don't think that whatsoever. Because
still
don't forget,
Daenerys
George Martin, he's still putting and had been putting out material. Now, granted, what was frustrating to a lot of the dedicated readers was he's like, I'm gonna do this now. You're like, no, what do you do? You still have. It's like he jumped over to dessert and there was still he still had a fucking dinner plate that was not cleaned as of yet, and the man doesn't look like a guy who walks away from a lot of dinner plates. So we were like, yo, just finish, man. We're sitting here waiting for you.
Nah.
So I don't think necessarily, granted, it may have, it absolutely died down from the fever pitch. And like sometimes things like Walking Dead, people like die, like stop walking and actually die because like we're totally fucking.
That's a catchy title. Dead.
Fatigued. So no, I think what it is, it lived in that sweet spot of like, the last one ended, we gave you a little bit of a cool down. It's like you pumping out reps. You're like, oh, I'm not going for fucking mass, I'm going for fucking tone. So like you're pumping out a long ass, however many years Game of Thrones ran, you pumped out a bunch of those reps and then you put the weight down. You're like, and then you pick that shit up again because you got to get them rips, kid. So someone's right around the corner. It's not.
I gotta be honest. I'm pretty sure that entire description, you being like going for toe, not for both. Are you just bragging because you're looking just fucking tight in that medium?
Stop hitting on me, bro. It makes everybody watching and listening.
Disagree. There's a whole private page dedicated to this brother on brother love affair. John,
stop shipping it.
Do you feel? Do you feel like House of Dragon? The vibe I got,
Yeah.
it felt more subtle. There was still an orgy. There was still like everyone gets
Let's not get
decapitated
crazy. Why wouldn't
in
there be
the
an orgy
second act.
and insane violence?
I felt like there was a lot of like beautiful, subtle moments. Specifically, I'm going to leave out some details because obviously, once the season wraps, we'll return to see how fucking
Absolutely.
right or wrong we were. And maybe we'll check in the middle. You and I had the conversation. Might be fun to do a kind of beginning, middle, end to see how it lines up. But a character kind of is chilling in the throne during one scene. And very specifically in Game of Thrones, I remember them talking about when you sit in the Iron Throne, you gotta come correct because that ship is sharper than a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And the character in question gets a little nick from the chair, and obviously that's not particularly subtle, except it's a callback to a different
You mean the
show.
the close up and like a fucking totally
Dramatic
turned up sound
music?
effect, like blink. You're like, I wonder if that's gonna mean something later.
It still felt like they took this opportunity to be more mature where they needed to be more mature.
You know
I
what? The
felt
reason why,
smarter
though-
for having watched
Look,
it.
and that's kudos to them for like bumping you up as a viewer. Like, I'm coming back next week because I'm smart. And but no, but there's a very specific reason for that. Whereas, hey, what's up, Christopher? Whereas the Game of Thrones series, they covered all of Westeros across the fucking sea, across the narrow sea. They covered the Horse Lords. They covered fucking Dorne. Like, they north of the fucking wall. They did so much within a relatively confined period of time. You
Yeah.
got to meet so many houses, and you knew sigils in your sleep. Like, oh, you can't be doing that. Oh, that's okay though. So like there really was this very somewhat truncated learning process, but everybody got right up to speed because it was still human stories. Yeah, granted, there's dragons flying around, people fucking looking totally different, taking off a piece of jewelry, and they go from a bomb piece to a disaster, which is like my fucking worst nightmare. I'm like, oh, bitch, keep the necklace on.
John, just because your college years were filled with just 10 nails coming off, the
Whatever, dude.
eyelashes,
It
the
was
lip stain.
It was a unique time, so just like respect, show some respect. But whereas House of the Dragon, it's gonna be a laser focus. It's gonna be like fucking the horses clip clopping around Central Park. They got the blinders on. They got their eye on the prize. You're gonna catch that carrot. It's a more nuanced story that they're telling. It's confined. Now that's not to say that there's not gonna be beef to be had. It's just gonna be dragon beef because we have more dragons to contend with than we did fucking Targaryens in the last season, and that's not even an exaggeration whatsoever.
I gotta tell you, the show did a great job of juicing me up for every Sunday to come, because the one part that they're not subtle is like right in the first 10 minutes, there's a character who's just like, there's a fucking team building, bro. Like, it is wonderfully that balance of that beautiful balance, right? I totally get Ryan, my boy Ryan, coming in on the Facebook feed saying he's going to wait until there's more episodes of House of the Dragon.
Just be careful,
wish-
Ryan, because there are people who read the story already, who are desperate to spoil it because they're
I
scumbags.
wish,
There are going to be people around the water cooler, proverbially.
yeah, more than those people, those insufferable toolboxes that have so little in this world to talk about. They feel the need to spoil something on a Monday when a show comes out on a Sunday when they know the rule is you wait at least until Wednesday.
Yeah,
You
show some
dumb shit.
respect.
I wish I could be that patient. We had Chris on the Facebook feed mentioned I had a Ghostbuster event all weekend. John, the whole second half of Sunday was me just my leg nervously twitching, where I'm like, I gotta get home. There's fucking dragons. Get out of my face.
Good.
Get out of my goddamn face. I was ready to go. Ryan saying the best way to avoid spoilers is to build your own horse blinders, which henceforth I shall be calling dragon blinders when it comes to avoiding House of the Dragon spoilers. I can't wait to see what else comes.
There was a knight of Westeros at some point who was like, fuck this dragon, and just like stabbed him in the eyeball. And he was forever known as like Charlie the Dragon Blinders. Like he's like, can I trademark that? Because like a long time from now, there's gonna be clip cloppers around Central Park, and I'm not even getting paid. Yeah, no, sure. I completely I completely agree with you. I gotta say, like literally, the only thing that I dislike about the content that comes from HBO is that you do have to wait on a week-to-week basis. Thankfully, I cheated and I read the damn thing, read it beforehand. And you know, it's funny. I kind of had a sneaking suspicion when I heard, oh, this is going to be the series. My thought was like, there's no fucking way that they can tell hundreds of years of history within like, you know, even like a season. And then I realized, fuck my ass sideways. This is going to be an anthology series. And basically, even with all the hubbub going over, happening over at WB Discovery, We Hate You All, there was still the knowledge like, okay, well, this is going to have legs. I mean, George wanted Game of Thrones to run 12 fucking years. That was like his mental game plan. They're like, nah, dude. He's like, 10? They're like, nope, try again. So
all the actors were like, I am so sick of being around horses.
Even the dragons were like, yo, dude, I have other opportunities banging at my door.
I just want to take 1 second.
Wrap it up.
Any producers hiring, I will sign a contract right now for 20
Lifetime.
Seasons
Life.
of literally any show.
Yes.
John is correct. For a lifetime, doesn't even have to be my lifetime. You could take a baby, be like, Charlie will work for this baby's lifetime.
My contract I'm signing for your life. I'm like, look, you're getting some extra time here. Here's the blood test that you requested.
90 years from now, John passes away. Suddenly there's an old fat version of him. Replace me like, I guess I'm John.
Yeah, man, I'm just like, I'm really looking forward to kind of knowing the direction. I'm on the Titanic, and I'm like, oh, there's gonna be an iceberg, motherfuckers. Just you wait. Just you wait. I cannot wait for this dragon-shaped iceberg that I know for a fact is ahead. But bottom line, I was cautiously optimistic when I sat my ass down. By the time the credits rolled, I was like, ooh, butthole all tight. Could not wait for the next episode because they started off like a champion, man. They started off
I just
really
love
well.
that, like, your only complaint is like, I want to watch all of it right now.
Yeah.
Twice. Pieces of garbage.
Yep,
I love
right.
it. I'm excited. I'm
I
happy
want it
you're excited.
now.
I really am curious to see if they're able to maintain this momentum, but I'm excited to fucking find out.
Hell yeah. I'm also excited to, much like Klingon and fucking Dothraki, I'm waiting for the first uber nerds to come up speaking fucking High Valyrian at the next Comic-Con. The New York Comic-Con's around the corner. Nerds, this is a call to action. Start working on your High Valyrian right now. Ooh,
Nerds!
I want to hear
Assemble!
it. Boom. Can't wait.
It's awesome.
Hell
you
yeah.
know, the only... Here's the thing.
Yeah.
We got Chris talking about Lord of the Rings, the Ring of Power.
Yeah, there's
that
a lot of fantasy series coming.
That trailer looks so good. Ryan,
Damn
just,
right.
just absolutely with one of the best drop-ins of the year. The bottom line, though, if you do check out House of the Dragon and you walk away from your TV set or your laptop or hell, even your phone, and you go like, meh, you're a fucking liar. Like one George Toy Boy Lucas. Because if there's no other truth in this world, we all know Han shot
first, baby. Bang, bang.
Put it up, baby. Clinky. I don't want to. Why do I always put my shot under like the hottest light in this room?
Because you're just my smart, smart little sister. Beautiful. So luckily,
We've upset Ellis. That's how you know it's a good show. Well, Ellis, strap in, baby.
so there have been, as Charlie mentioned, just a ton of options as we kind of like just tiptoe into pumpkin spice season. They want us to be nice and comfortable as the weather changes.
Just
As far
every
as I'm
bitch is
concerned,
going to dress like Han Solo. I can't wait.
I just love Han Solo season. I absolutely love it. But yeah, so our dragon kind were not the only ones to make their debut. Certainly not the only green ones, because over at Disney Plus, cha cha cha,
Womp,
we
womp, womp.
also had the debut of the She-Hulk Esquire.
Attorney at law.
She-Hulk Attorney at Law, still a better title than Pennyworth, Batman's butler. He cleans up his dirty tighty-whities. So it's very interesting, Charlie, because look, I hate, as Charlie knows, as my oft spoken poorly about brethren, I don't take any enjoyment on shitting on my brethren. I don't enjoy correcting the people who I claim to be part of my clan. But even before a single cell had been shown of She-Hulk, these fucking trademark patent pending, these comic book Karens were just asking to speak to our manager. They're like, meh, why is She-Hulk getting her powers under control so quick? More than Hulk did. That's not fair. Meh, that's not how She-Hulk got her powers. Meh, the CGI doesn't look good enough. You've got a Commodore 64 at home. What the hell are you? You are not an expert. Shut up. She's not big and muscular enough. So on one hand, she's too strong and too able, and on the other hand, she's not strong or big or bulky enough. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. And the worst part, Charlie, the worst fucking part to me, and I'm pretty smart, is the fact that all that clamoring, all that blah 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 is fucking bullshit. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because they are the big mouth minority, because She-Hulk, for all of the positive reviews that Miss Maisel Marvel got, She-Hulk doubled, not did a little bit better than, didn't skew 15% more positive within a specific demographic. She doubled Miss Marvel's viewership. So suck a dick. Shut the fuck up. Because maybe if you ducked a sick, maybe your mouth would be otherwise occupied with all that fucking blah, 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 blah. They're like, look at the entire Marvel experience, their cinematic universe. They're like, this is a comedy. What the fuck did you think it was gonna be? Did you expect that it was gonna be some fucking like dark, despairing? You think they're gonna shut off all the lights on a fucking in Mexico so that it could look like the Dark Knight when Mark Ruffalo was walking her through? By the way, I love her.
Charm City.
Oh,
now, just
God,
real quick,
I just love her.
maybe, I don't know if it's a competition. We got a rowdy crowd this week. For those of you joining us live for the video version, remember
Ellis.
you can tune in 8 o'clock. Ellis.
You know you my boy, bro, but we can go round him up because
No,
Hulk
this
wasn't
is-
demoted. He wasn't demoted.
No,
He's not He-Hulk.
I just
He
think
is
by...
Smart Hulk. Self-appointed.
No,
Smart Hulk.
I like this. I like the idea that She-Hulk is for henceforth will be known as Hulk, and we'll call old Hulk Smart Hulk,
Charlie,
or He-Hulk. He-Hulk's just a fun name.
That is part of the grumbling. They're like, what about Hulk? What about Hulk? Hulk, first of all, Hulk should wake up, scratch his smelly green ass, and just be thankful that he's even allowed to show up on the fucking Disney Studios because they don't own that motherfucker. They're not allowed. Anyone who's unfamiliar with the disaster that Marvel put themselves into in the early 2000s, go ahead, grab a pencil and some paper and jot it down. All right, jot it down. Marvel was in so much trouble as a company. They could not pay their fucking bills. They had to literally sell off the rights to characters for a cash infusion so that they could pay their bills. I know it for a fact because I happen to know one particular individual who was owed money from Marvel. They're like, look, this is what we're going to be doing.
Here's Spider-Man.
So this is not, it may as well have been, this is not like conjecture. This is factual.
I like
so they
to
had
consider...
to sell off these fucking characters. They are not allowed. They do not have the right, the God-given right for them to make a fucking Hulk movie with Hulk in the middle. He's like, man, bam, 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 bam. Not allowed to do it. They're not allowed to do it. So the fact that Hulk has been relegated to second banana is because of the legal system, which ironically is where She-Hulk happens to work.
You know, it's funny if Hulk hired She-Hulk, they get that contract fixed. John, I gotta tell you,
I know, Ellis. I know. I'm just using you as a springboard to the larger point.
I had such low expectations for She-Hulk just because, again, I'm not used to good things happening. So the idea that the minute that they were like, guess what's happening in She-Hulk? Daredevil's going to be back. He's going to kind of be in his OG look from the comics. Also, guess what? He's not just going to be a miserable fucking cunt for another season. Hey, guess what else? Maybe I heard some rumors that maybe we're going to get a little She-Hulk on Murdoch action, which I just got to tell you. I don't deserve to be as happy as that made me. But John, after the Charm City that was episode 1 of She-Hulk, I was able to enjoy finally the trailers for She-Hulk. And John, one thing that I legitimately wasn't expecting potentially that I hope so much I hope comes to fruition is the idea that we're finally going to have a character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that like owns their femininity and sexuality. And if She-Hulk is taking that fella to task the way I think she's gonna in that trailer, I feel like every woman in the MCU, for all this fucking talk of too many chicks, too many women at the forefront, none of them have gotten to be like a complex character. So the idea that the green one is gonna be the one that's like, you know what's up? Love that dick. Let's go. That makes me as happy as Ellis is dropping of the only 3 legit Hulks, She, Hogan, and Ferrigno. I agree wholeheartedly.
Ferrigno, how dare you?
Ferrigno.
Ferrigno,
like the breakfast.
Delicious. I agree with you. Look, she's a person, right? And this is actually something that is, it sounds kind of silly to say out loud, but it's kind of unique to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as of right now. And funny enough, probably the closest that we got to that prior was Captain Marvel. They made it so much like, look, she is something before all this jazz. All this crap is going to come to her. She's got to have this adjustment. And for whatever reason, that dose of reality amongst this world of the fantastic, people are like, no, that's not why I come here. We're like, well, but you know, sometimes that's what you're going to get.
Because, I don't want Top Gun before my superhero movie. Be like, yes, you do.
Like, yeah, but it's important though. So like, maybe pay attention. And you're right. Like, just in terms of, see, I thought of it in terms not so much like, oh, this is about feminine empowerment, or this is about like owning sexuality. Not in really. I mean, you're right. You're right. But that wasn't the point. I know it's rare. That wasn't the point that like kind of struck home. The point that kind of like hit home for me immediately was this show is for an adult.
Yes.
This is not a kid's show.
And coming off the heels,
Captain America's virginity, whether we're talking about fucking She-Hulk getting down, or whether we're talking about like somewhat complex relationships. I like the fact that there were like cousins are a thing. Cousins have a unique relationship where it's like they're like siblings, but it's different, right? So it's like it's the same, but it's different. Fucking Paul, you know. So
Paul is our She-Hulk.
Yeah. So look, they're examining relationships. There's dialogue that's important, not just to like advance the plot for what's about in the corner, storytelling wise, but like to set you up for relationships, for who's gonna be able to do what later down the road. If the shit hits the fan, this is who you can call. If you need to borrow $5, this is your person over here. Like that's important to storytelling. Also, as well as in long format, like we're gonna get with the series, it's just as important when you're gonna pepper in cameos that like people are gonna get semi, if not fully, fucking erect from. Also to like leave a little haze of question mark on like when you look at She-Hulk in the first suggestion boxes, on one side it's Daredevil, but the next one is Jessica Jones. Oh shit, we're gonna get a Jessica Jones cameo. Like they've done a really nice job considering that they're not like fucking firing everybody under the sun and canceling every third fucking project over at fucking Marvel Disney Plus. They're able to keep their focus. And look, we had plenty to say about this last phase. It was not our favorite phase, to say the least. It seemed somewhat disjointed. There was not a very clear direction that they're going. This is some different shit. Clearly, I think we know what we're building to, and I don't think that it's a World War Hulk scenario, Paul, to answer your question from earlier. I think this is going to be their setup for their abbreviated hodgepodge of a Secret War. So there's the original Secret Wars from the 80s. Then there was the Secret Wars Redux. I think what we're going to end up getting is something that's in between. Both. And it's going to be both while being neither. It's going to be something different, but it's going to make its homages to both, which is totally fine. It's an adaptation, not a recreation. I have no fucking problem with that. But I am digging on She-Hulk. I hope she's ready to do some pro bono work for this brother, if you know what I'm saying.
But again, I think part of the reason I harped so much on that trailer that I finally was able to fucking enjoy. It's like once you get proof of concept, you're able to be like, oh my God, I'm allowed to enjoy a character that I really like, but I don't love She-Hulk. I don't know if any of the Hulk characters ever lived in this bubble of me being like, holy shit, a Hulk. But I always had
show was, or is rather, a fucking dynamite character in and of themselves.
Yeah.
To me, the litmus test was always, is this a dope character? Is this an interesting character without the ability to Hulk out? And if the answer is no,
that's good.
Then I'm not really all that invested, because look, you can fill the pages with big Goliath fucking heavy hitters. I mean, probably, if I'm speaking totally frankly, my favorite Hulk, not the one that I root for, so to speak, like the one that I'm most interested to check out, is Thunderbolt Ross. Fucking give me Red Hulk all day, because that is an interesting, driven character, not a fucking Hulk smash. Not that that's bad.
Yeah.
But it's different.
I honestly, I think part of me is always going to miss that we didn't get,
or the Fantastic Four, Paul.
Ooh, now that would be fucking dope. That would be a really interesting way, because one thing I think She-Hulk did incredibly well, that I love the fucking how shitty did we call them internet Karens? Is that the phrase?
Comic book Karens, sir.
The comic book Karens.
And they were plenty to say about this action sitcom, because that's what this is. It is a situation comedy, which also, as well as, has people being thrown through fucking dynamite tiki bars. I was like, oh, you bitch. Oh, you better help me fix that shit.
What I really loved, though, was these mouth breathers out of either side of their mouth pick and choose what they know about the history. They changed the origin. Well, stupid. They made it significantly better. This was a well thought out, how do we get Bruce as Bruce? How do we get his blood accessible? How do we get it in the bitch?
How do we set up all this
absolutely
stuff?
Wonderful.
And that's what happens when you have too many cooks in the kitchen, which I don't think they were in danger of it. They fucking did it. Like, they really did it. And I give Kevin Feige a lot of credit for, like, that shit was a unwieldy rather, fucking train that he has kept on the rails for way longer, let's be honest, way longer than he had any right to.
Yeah, we lost a car maybe.
But fuck that car.
Yeah, I didn't like that one.
But he has kept it relatively moving in the same direction, if not always the direction we want them to go. But fuck it. You know, Marvel might not own some of their characters. We don't own any of them. So they're going to do what they want to do. But that all being said, they've done a really nice job, as far as I'm concerned, of kind of like keeping the things moving in the way that they want it ultimately to end up. Like where they want to be when you turn the page, everything is moving in that proper direction. And it's interesting you mentioned before, Charlie, about like the people who don't know. That's right. Who like, have something to say without knowing. The other one that I was hearing all the time was like, she breaks the fourth wall. Not that they knew what to call it. She talks to the audience. Yes, dum-dum. That's called breaking the fourth wall. It's a theatrical term. But I've got news for you. She was doing that shit in the comic books well before Deadpool even thought about doing that shit with his Freddy Krueger looking ass.
Yeah,
right?
well, Ellis called out the John Byrne run. And also, I'm so excited. I like my little nips are just so pointy at the idea of that run of She-Hulk specifically had some of the greatest comic book transitions ever. They played with the medium. The thing I keep thinking of is like, is she gonna step through like from one scene to another scene at some point, which shouldn't work. We saw in the first non-televised Hulk movie, the Ang Lee Hulk movie, they tried that weird comic book panel transition shit, but She-Hulk might kick down a wall and go into 2 weeks later. It's such an imaginative character, and honestly, when it comes down to it, after I watched it for the second time, my walk away, and this is the highest praise I can ever give anything in this comic book world that I love. I couldn't imagine a world in which I could have done it better. Yeah. They fixed what they had to fix. They got where they needed to get. Honestly, even the needle drop at the end was tremendous. Yeah.
But again,
and a post-credit scene. Yes, please.
It called the shot. You're like, look, this is what you're going to be getting. Keep on tuning in every Thursday, which I'm like, Thursday is not comic book day. What the? But that being said, you have a level of expectation. Honestly, that's all I really want at the end of the day from a premiere episode. House of the Dragon did it. She-Hulk did it. They said, look, like it, leave it. This is what you're going to get. And ultimately, that's what you're supposed to. Well, that's what you're supposed to do for your audiences. If you have any fucking respect for them whatsoever, you're not supposed to fucking yank the rug out from under them and say, okay, this is what to expect. Just fucking kidding. And
fool you.
Yeah. We have seen that before, but they're calling their shots and they're gonna take it. Also, as well as like, look, so I've also heard like, she's a giant green Ally McBeal. And I did my best, Charlie. I'm like, that is a very, that is like, you make the best references, bro. Like, awesome, put it there. That is not dated whatsoever. But yeah, she is a big, giant Ally McBeal. You're right. And I fucking love that show, too. I hope she has a dancing baby. How you like them apples? And
a little Hulkling.
I hope that CGI is even fucking worse than Ally McBeal had. But she's married to Indiana Jones, so Fuck off if you don't like it.
That's who I think is in that ship that showed up that Paul was alluding to before. Like, who's in that ship? I think it's little Hulkling who's just dancing.
Yeah, he's just like
Every show gets a Grogu. Every
the
single
goofy,
show.
The worst part about that baby was not the CGI or the fact that she was seeing imaginary babies. It was that goofy like. That
No, see, I
fucking,
love that.
Terrible dance.
That
Baby,
really works.
what shows are you watching through the belly button for all those months that was the dance that you popped out of that imaginary vajinga with? Like, shame on you. I'm just excited that this bitch has decided, look, you are not going to make my decisions. I'm a working woman. I passed the bar. I just got an office. I'm going to keep my job. Maybe Charlie Cox will show up. Because the bottom line is, Jennifer got bills to pay, and so do we. So, Charlie, why don't you kick us off, brother? Tell these mother suckers how we pay the bills.
Oh, I'm gonna. And this week we are brought to you by Really Fast VPN. If you need no bullshit, we're not brought to you by a fucking VPN.
Burr?
You pieces of garbage, because we are not like other pods who just sell out for any random brand that's willing to pay. No. Today we are brought to you by one of our absolute favorite bands, Bad Mary. You heard them during the intro, and you're going to hear them again at the end of the show. If you're wondering where else can you catch their act, you can go ahead and follow them at Bad Mary Band across all social media platforms. You can support them over on patreon.com/Bad Mary Band. You can stay up to date at badmary.com for merch and upcoming performances. But my absolute favorite part is that their entire discography is available on every single music streaming service.
Yeah.
Now that's a band that gets it.
They get it.
And a sponsor one could be proud of.
Damn straight. And I bet if you ask them right now, they would even know where we dropping. The answer's with Sergeant Finesse. You can find him gaming on both Trovo and Facebook. Multiple streams every day. Outstanding video game content, supporter games, co-streams, giveaways, contests. Don't be a sucker. Check them out today. If you need a pick-me-up, and I sure as hell do, go and follow the White Rabbit like Neo do over to sneakenergy.com. Use code SGT at checkout when the Sarge is on deck. You salute. GG's, kid.
Whoa. The White Rabbit's a delicious beverage?
How many times I gotta tell you? Stop doing it. If you do not have an adorable pitbull puppy at your side, that is
Fair.
the only caveat that we
Fair.
require.
Fair enough. John,
Word.
man, this time of year, there's so much good.
There is.
I'm not sure if you checked out Gray Man on Netflix. Hot damn, is that what Netflix is built for? Sandman, Gray Man. I was so happy when I saw that boing and the little fucking N get drawn. I'm like, fuck yeah, Netflix. Let's do this. You shouldn't be losing subscribers. You're great. What's this? Jaime Fox? He's a good actor. What's this movie about? Vampire hunting. John, I made you watch Day Shift, and I am so fucking sorry. I'm embarrassed that I get water delivered to me with such frequency. There's a lot of things I've done in this world that I'm ashamed of. A lot of people don't know, one time John and I were playing a game. I accidentally cracked his skull open well after the game concluded when I attacked him when he was washing down his hair with at the sink. This, however, is 10 times worse. At this point, John, my first question for you is Jaime Fox's best acting done when he pretends he's a good actor? Because does anyone have as many hits as misses the way Jaime Fox does? What the fuck happened? What was this boil that called itself a fucking movie? Day Shift sucked.
Day Shift was really something, and I spoke about it a little bit with you earlier. I was pretty convinced that your ears were a ringing when I forced my way through it. I mean, look, I can honestly say I've never sat down for a movie in a theater so bad And I'm like, that's it, and just got up and walked out. I was close to doing it this time, and I was watching it on my own couch. It was
I love the idea of you leaving your apartment to like go to the cinema. Like I just need somewhere to sit for a bit.
I just need to get away from the stink emanating off of my fucking TV. It wasn't Charlie. It wasn't. I didn't like it. It was not. It was not for me. Now, what was very interesting is the pedigree. If someone described this to you, you'd be like, "Oh shit, okay, word, okay,
Well, give
I'm
it a
in,
shot.
I'm in."
Describe to the lovely
Not
people how this
even-
movie got funded.
Not even give it a shot. I will sit down to watch this. I bet it's gonna be pretty good. Like that's where I was mentally when I first heard about this movie. Now anybody who is familiar with it knows this isn't like brand new. This didn't just drop. It dropped a couple weeks ago, and it's being watched. It's being
People
watched.
like it.
Netflix has this unique. Netflix. Are you familiar with the term nouveau riche?
No.
The new rich. So in other words, just because a person has money, if they come into money, new money versus old money, Buffy. New money.
I fucking wish Buffy was in this fucking thing.
New money might make you rich, but it doesn't give you class, right? Class is something that's acquired. I would apply this rationale or this concept to Netflix. Netflix has all the fucking money in the world. They can make features, and they do. They fucking make full movies that one could reasonably expect to go and watch for the first time, not on DVD, not direct to DVD, but in a movie theater with
Yeah.
$8 fucking popcorn and sticky floors. That's where this movie could have gone because it looked, Charlie, it looked
Looked like a movie.
good as hell. If I never
Sounded like a movie.
turned on the volume or the closed captions, I would be like, closed one eye, sat back real fucking far. I may be like, it was all
Well,
right.
John, let me put it to you
Not
this way.
painful.
Let me put it to you this way, John. What if I told you we could hop in the DeLorean, hit fucking 88, go back in time, hours, and I sit you down. I go, John, guess what I want to talk about this week? There's a movie where it takes place in our world, but guess what, bro? Vampires are real.
Yeah.
And there's like a secret organization that what they do is they like fucking are like vampire police. They fuck these vampires start showing up. These are the boys and girls that take them out, and it's filled with interesting characters. You remember Men in Black? It's like fucking Men in Black, only not aliens, vampires. And guess what? Sometimes you can get axed from this organization. Then there's a whole seedy underbelly where you fucking kill vampires just for profit. And Jaime Fox is our star. He's the man. He's so fucking good at killing vampires, bro. But he's like a fucking classic badass cop. He don't got time for no rules. He's about effective destruction of vampire doo-doo heads. What if I told you a rap star was going to show up and he was going to be badass and have a cool cowboy gimmick? What if I fucking told you there was gonna be a funny sidekick who's like a fucking accountant for the vampire police? John, I described some shit. I'm desperate to watch. You talk about how underutilized werewolves are all the
I still
time.
want to see it, Charlie. How about that? That was a better elevator pitch than fucking movie on Netflix, and it was included in my Netflix membership. I would only accuse you of being a fucking George Lucas about one thing in particular. Who was the funny sidekick? I don't remember.
Oh, well, he was
I don't
supposed to be funny.
Oh,
But
but I remember a baby Franco, who frankly I'm still furious at because of who he decided to bang out on a daily basis.
It's a personal vendetta.
Yeah, no, I got a personal problem. He was the least funny, quote unquote funny guy that I have ever seen. And it's interesting that you have mentioned Jamie Foxx because Jamie Foxx Jamie Foxx, the guy that was in Ray, the guy that played
Yeah.
Ray Charles.
Yeah.
The guy from Django Unchained.
Fuck
Is
yeah.
that the guy? Literally the only pair of swinging balls in Dreamgirls, like the greatest fucking musical ever put to film. That Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
Honestly, whoever they had in this movie, he looked just like Jamie Foxx. He even sounded like him occasionally. I honestly believe that while vampirism is not real, certainly it's not contagious. Shitty acting is contagious. If everybody fucking around you is hacking away at the material, then eventually, even though you might not intend to do so, you're gonna start hacking up the fucking scenes, bro. He was terrible in this.
John, it was
Terrible. It was
some of the line
just
readings.
not fucking good.
I kept expecting there to be an advertisement when the credits rolled. I expected like an ad of like how we fucked up a vampire movie, the true documentary about how we had to film this movie in a half
Charlie,
hour.
Are you sure that it was a vampire movie? Because
No.
did the fucking vampires do anything in it except get their asses handed to them daily and nightly and ever so rightly?
Well, John,
Charlie,
it
they
turns
just
out
fucking whipped vampire asses. There were certain vampire quote unquote deaths where I honestly didn't. I'm like, how? Why would that vampire be dead right now? Oh, you shot their leg off? In what fucking part of vampire lore does it say if you shotgun off a vampire's leg when they're jumping from a height unnecessarily because they're a fucking vampire, that it kills them? I've heard of the stake through the chest. I've heard of fucking garlic shoved up the nostrils. I've heard a lot. Holy water, crucifix, all that jazz. I have never heard in my many years of a shotgun to the leg killing a fucking vampire. Not once.
this also has the worst example of Chekhov's gun I've ever fucking seen.
Magoof.
There is a gag in this film that happens, and it's like arguably clever. Then they mention it in the next scene. They're like, you want to have this? Remember the thing I used in the last scene? You want it? And these guys like, no, you hold on to it. That's worthless. And then it's the big thing at the end. It's such an obvious moment. It made me sick.
Ugh, it was fucking pathetic. Charlie, what about the complete lack of logic? Like, I understand
The movie's called Day Shift. The big scene at the end is at night.
Did the day
Fuck
shift
you.
for the production company not show up that day for work that day? Like, and nobody read this fucking ham-handed script? Charlie, can you explain to me the purpose of putting a pillow on the muzzle of a gun
Nope.
when you... Well, I mean, look, anyone who has seen any mafia movie ever knows, yeah, you put a gun muzzle to a pillow and put the pillow directly up against your victim, intended victim's head, in order to muffle the shot. Can you explain to me then what the purpose of that would be when you are standing approximately 5 feet away from that victim and you are using a shotgun? God's unholiest, loudest fucking weapon of all time, and I'm including cannons. A shotgun is the loudest fucking thing ever since Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. Nothing is louder or frankly more annoying than that. Why would you put a pillow 5 feet away from what you're shooting at, Charlie? Why?
John, it's not as annoying as Franco was in this fucking movie.
Why
he was far more
did
annoying.
homegirl, the neighbor, she's like, oh yeah, I came here to watch you, but you know what? Fuck it, I'm just gonna switch sides. No reason. I don't like them. Yeah,
Everybody
I don't like
knew
people.
Kung Fu.
Ugh.
John,
Everybody was like fucking quadruple jointed at the waist. I'm like, this one bitch, I hope she got quintuple pay, because every time you saw a skinny ass little female vampire bending up all around somebody. That was the same
It's like,
chicken.
it's Monica.
100%.
That's
Charlie,
Monica every time.
arguably, Jamie Foxx was a good vampire killer, right? You'd say
Yeah,
that.
allegedly.
And Baby Franco was hilariously not, but that was the intention. Piss himself right and left. Sure. Even even Snoopy, he got in on the action when he finally decided to.
I don't like that he used Reaper's gun. Fuck him.
Snoop Dogg showing up like a cowboy for no earthly reason. Imus in the morning had more of a reason to show up as a cowboy the way he did just one random day than
That's
Snoop
such
Dogg
a specific reference.
Boom! But that being said, inarguably the best vampire killers in this entire disaster of a movie, of a flick, were the Nazarian brothers. Where the fuck were they? Why do you introduce the ass-kickingest fucking pair of brothers since the brothers Rivera and then say, okay, now you are never going to see them again? Why? What are you doing? What are you doing?
I've never seen...
What are you doing?
If you're writing that script, I understand the temptation for sequel bait. Because that's all that scene was. Was like, we're going to do a fucking TV series with these two less famous actors. John, if you're in the writing room, you pull that scene if it's... You cannot have secondary characters be at best comparison.
Better. They're better.
But let's pretend they were only as good.
There's still two of them.
And they're brothers with cool accents. John, there's a gimmick in this movie where all the vampire hunters have secret day jobs. So the brothers were like VCR repairmen. Jamie Foxx was like a pool guy. And John, what was the other vampire hunter that we saw the day job of? What was that guy's day job? Oh, we don't see any other examples? This movie jumps around with its ideas. This had to have 70 writers because they set up a movie that's a classic buddy cop film, but that's only part of the movie. They set up the guy who had his badge and gun taken away, but it happens. Why was there not an establishing scene for like, this is who Jamie Foxx was? And now look at this schmuck. He's a pool boy.
Charlie,
Surprise, he's still vampire hunting. This movie fucking eats a butt.
It was a collection of setups and moments. They're like, oh, here's this moment. And ironically, the movie was the debut. I forget the fucking guy's name, but I'll do him a favor and not mention it. So he was the second unit director for the John Wick flicks. That's his real credentials. Now,
awesome.
Thinking about the fight sequences, you think two things. I thought this person was a vampire. Like, suck some shit. Drink some blood. You'll really like it, I promise. The only fucking blood sucking I saw happened with a fucking sippy straw. But that being said, the fight sequences, you're like, yeah, totally. John Wick.
Competent as fuck.
John Wick. A lot of the visuals, totally fucking get it, bro. I totally get it. This looked like a second unit director's fucking like sizzle reel. But that's how the movie played, was like a sizzle reel. So you had a collection of moments that didn't really necessarily knit very well together. Did they ever fucking explain why the main vampire looked so much younger? Yeah, I understand that she didn't find her daughter till she had grown up. But you're telling me she fucking converted a 90-year-old fucking woman?
I think that was the implication.
That is the dumbest shit fucking ever. Also, as well as, can you explain to me the situation for the power struggle while she's fucking cementing motherfuckers to the roof? It was, Charlie, it was basically... It was
nonsense.
If this was like condensed down, this would be the action that you saw before the action-packed credits, and like, okay, now we're gonna actually start. This thing played out like an 80s cartoon where they drop a fucking 2-hour, including the commercials, movie to hype you up for this new franchise. If these fuckfaces think that I'm
Day
going to
shift.
settle in
Day shift.
for a franchise of hot, smelly garbage. They got another thing
Oh,
coming.
they 100% thought that this had nothing but room to grow.
Oof.
And I'm here to tell you, this movie makes Blade Trinity look like high art.
Woof.
John, the fucking everything. This was the sleekest turd ever on Netflix, I think.
This was an uncrumbly, not veiny, seal slick duty that you like just you still
You don't need
drunk
to wipe
from
after.
the night before. You're like, you're like, oh, what the fuck is that? Like it felt like somebody snuck in the toilet behind you and took a shit between your cheeks. You're like, oh wait, well, occupied. It was gross. It was
That's
sleek,
called a French bread, by the way.
That's why we don't eat bread no more. Fucking carbs. It was gross, bro. This movie was gross. I did not like it.
I don't actually understand how movies like Day Shift can exist and other shit can even be criticized. Like,
Meanwhile,
you
Bright
remember-
doesn't have a sequel. But they're trying to set this shit up for prequels, sequels, and fucking sidequels. Like, fuck off. Nyquels. All of it is terrible.
Honestly, next time I can't sleep, I'm going to pop this shit in.
Yeah.
Honestly, that wouldn't even work. I would be so fucking mad the entire time.
Honestly, for me, it was a NyQuil because all I wanted to do is just go to sleep. Even as furious as I was at my loving brother, I'm like, just let this day end. Please,
I
let
gotta
it end.
be honest. By like the hour mark, I went from being angry to astonished. I don't actually understand how you do this bad of a job with clearly a lot of money.
All the money. They had all
looked-
the fucking money in the world.
It looked like it could have been a movie. Honestly, Ellis, Game of Thrones season 8 is Empire by comparison.
May I elevate the point?
You may.
Okay. Day Shift was honestly like you could fucking pick it. Like you can fighting a sneeze. Fighting it.
Fight
Fight
it.
it. Stand up and fight.
I ain't hear no bells sneeze.
So, whereas Day Shift was marked for death. The season 8 of Game of Thrones is Hamlet. All right, that's the breadth of quality that I want you to think of when you think of this fucking movie. Think of marked for death. Think of nobody is allowed to touch that fucking fat, stupid, not black hair having idiot. And then think of Hamlet, the Irish play. You're not allowed to say it.
John, flag on the play. I need anyone listening to the audio only version to go ahead, head over to YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch.
Yeah.
I need you to fire up this episode in video format. Go ahead and jump to about the hour 10 mark and see how fucking tickled my brother was with himself proceeding like, know what this is like?
I experienced it in real time. That's how you know we are not recorded to tape today, because I just gave myself a solid chuckle.
That was the snootiest.
I am going to pat myself on the back to bed tonight. I'm like, ooh, hugging.
That
hugging.
was next time you pretend like you don't love yourself more than anyone else.
Yeah.
I'm going to remind you of that
Charlie.
moment where you couldn't contain yourself.
Read the name, bro.
The
Read the name.
sensational John.
You think I gave
And
myself that
sensational-
moniker?
I think you did.
I did, but that's not really the point. Charlie, last thoughts about this fucking smelly, smooth shit turd of a flick.
This is the challenge I would like to lay out to our lovely audience. John and I have famously, for years and years and years, played the game of Can You Fix It? Where you take a terrible, terrible property and you fix it. I need you, lovely people out there, to try to convince me to watch a Day Shift 2. What would you do for your sequel of Day Shift that could salvage this absolute dumpster fire. And I feel the need to remind people that I think most Avenger films are only okay. So if you can fix Day Shift, truly, I think you will be a special,
Ellis,
special boy or girl.
As we roll out, bro, I'm gonna go ahead and, as I often do, I'm gonna agree with you. Marked for Death was one of Seagal's best, but that ain't saying much because he stinks on ice. Yuck. Yeah, Charlie. Look, we've given them a lot to think about. We've put a lot of things on their to watch list and hopefully remove others. But at this point, there's really only one thing left. Tell them how we end the show.
Well, first, you gotta turn the power on. Then you gotta turn that volume up. Then you gotta tune Bad Mary in, open up the window wide, and scream out into the night sky, Sam, Space Girl! We out.